You're listening to 90.8 Hills FM Radio.
This is 90.8 Hills FM radio station, using our voice to rate your choice. Stay tuned.
Hi everyone, back to 90.8 Hills FM, the voice of change. This is Gugu Haralu, your RJ for the day. And today I have my friend back to the hot seat of discussion. And hopefully you will be able to learn something from our talk, our conversation. And today why bring in this friend of mine back is because of his diverse experience and exposure to certain things that we passionately share together as friends, but also as individuals, because of the callings that we have in reaching out to people and also being peace mediator, or would you like to call it as a peacemaker in our own personal and profession. So welcome back, Tongpang, to the studio.
Thank you, Gugu.
So Tongpang, you recently went to this trip, and I was very fascinated for the fact that a Naga going to a gathering as big as this, and also for the fact that it is quite an interesting journey that you may have had, which I feel the listeners should know, and especially for the young listeners, because this is a topic that has not been discussed in our community, and also for the country itself. And I do believe that there are many efforts made by various stakeholders who have been trying to facilitate and mediate in terms of bringing peace among different groups of community and perspectives. So I want to start with the listeners to let them know what we're going to talk about. So listeners, we are going to talk about Tongpang's recent trip to this place, this country called Oman, where this was about the gathering of many international peacemakers from all around the world, where they have gathered in Oman for their annual meet. And very interestingly, the organizers and the host this time included young men and women from around the world to be part of this annual meet. So basically, it had people from religious and traditional, who are leaders in their respective countries. And this made an effort to bridge, to be inclusive, actually.
Yes.
And if we are to talk about interfaith, if we're going to talk about peacemakers, it had to bring in different voices in one platform, for which I think I'm pretty excited to learn from you, Tongpang. So it was organized by the network of religious and traditional peacemakers, and hosted by the Ministry of Endowment and Religious Affairs, Oman. And Tongpang is a volunteer for INEB, which stands for International Network of Engaged Buddhists. So we have a very interesting individual who is a Naga, but has various approaches looking at life, but also finding himself with clarity. And I do hope that our listeners will enjoy Tongpang in getting a lens through your experiences and your exposure to the world. And I feel that the community radio is once again very privileged to have your presence.
Oh, thank you. I'm actually more happier to be here.
So Tongpang, how about we start with how did you land up being a volunteer for INEP? And how did INEP, through INEP you got invited to be part of this annual meet?
First of all, thanks to God or the universe, and or thanks to my faith, I would say. And then I thank my friends and colleagues who are in the same field of peace building and peace keeping and peacemaking, for giving this opportunity, because it was because of my friend Sabine who told me like there is a program in Bangkok. It's about engaged English with the Buddhist community over there. And then I was like, okay, let me try. And then, I got in there for 3 months of intense program with the Buddhist community who are engaging with different society, different culture, different issues in their country and around the world. And that really opened my eye. And then I said, I have to be part of this. Though I'm a Christian, I want to, really include my Christian community to also engage with all this stuff. That's how I entered INEB.
Wow. I think, do you know anyone who actually may have had a similar engagement apart from you from Nagaland?
Well, I know Gugu Haralu, the host here, the speaking right in front of me, has a similar experience. I know our uncle Niketu Iralu from Initiatives of Change, who had the similar experience. And then I think fellow friends of mine from Initiatives of Change from Nagaland or Northeast have the similar experience and vibe.
So, after your volunteering at INAP, what thought did you go with? And when you came back, what happened? Are you the same Tongpang when you did your 3 months, of your course there?
That's a wonderful question, because I think the term spiritual monkey or like spiritual monkey came out from INEP program, because I really got to connect spiritually within me, not as a Buddhist, but as a Christian, but again, more as a human, connecting with my life, my relationships. And then I could go into my life, see where I had like deep problems, and then where my legs were stuck in the mud. I got to see all my weakness, my vulnerability, and that really changed me. I think what I see right now is a monkey who is jumping around in different places, trying to give hope to others, and really encouraging others to also connect, and then keep continuing for this good fight that we are in.
Right, Tongpang. Listeners, Tongpang is someone who really likes to engage and also get involved. Wholeheartedly in the things that he believes in, and he is quite a researcher in himself, in wanting to know the why and the hows, and where and when. And this is where I would like to take this conversation for our listeners. Tongpang, you see, in Nagaland, and in fact all around the world, we are actually and has been experiencing religious intolerances, right? Yeah. And it is in terms of our social blankets, we're talking about politics, we're talking about our daily lives. How and where do you put yourself in a situation like this? When you're made the center, if you were to stand as a center, and then you have these things revolving around you as a lay person, as a young man, how did you see it, and how do you see now?
Ooh, to all my listeners, I would say like this is a very overwhelming question, and to be honest, I think I might not be the right person to give you this guidance. I would say everybody has their own experience, but keeping my experiences, earlier, the previous Tongpang, before meeting INEP, before meeting Initiatives of Change, before meeting different cultures and people, I was totally overwhelmed and burned out. I would say I failed as a human being. I failed as a Christian. I failed as a Naga, or I failed as anything, living, because I could not, understand the multi-layered issues, especially as a Naga, as an indigenous person, and from a broken family, and then so many things, From childhood, I was raised in other parts of India, and then like I had different thought process, and then like engagement with different religious people, it was just too much for me, to be honest. But the simple trick that I can sum up it is like just being in the reality, just being in the present really helped me. Like there are a lot of things, a lot of multi-layered issues, but I think we better stick to our reality, really see what is in my capacity, and I think that works.
So are you saying that the previous Tongpang and the now Tongpang, there has been a transition, right? And are you a happier person?
A lot happier. Let me tell you, I was in a trip. I will take back to Oman. I was in Oman, and then I was in 5 days or 4 days of youth camp, 4 nights and 5 days of youth camp, and then there was a group called Fifth Direction. That's a group which was organizing this youth camp, so that we get an exposure and taste of Omanian culture, the challenges, not only just the fun thing, but the challenges and then the dangers at the same time, like how to really find your fifth direction. What I mean to say is like they had 4 directions, main directions, like self-confidence, leadership, responsibility, and creative thinking. Those are the main things that we all focus in different parts of the world. But what's the fifth direction? That inner calling, the inner direction that is guiding you spiritually. So they took us through a lot of emotional ups and downs, hardships, but I was really composed because of the practice I had with INEB and Initiatives of Change. Yeah.
So it was very smooth for you to actually transit yourself in all these 5 points that they were trying to take you with. How did you see that with your other pair members who were there? Was it a first time intervention for them, or they were in a very similar, or they complemented how you were feeling in that group?
I would say everybody was like thinking I might be a little crazy person and not nutty person. Like they were saying, Tongpang, you're always smiling, always laughing, you're always cheering up, you are not pissed off, you are so cool and relaxed. Something wrong, or is it like you're too enlightened? Those were some funny questions from my friends and all, but I replied, well, what's there to be sorry or sad about? There's always a choice. Either you cry or you mumble about it, or you just go move ahead with whatever you have, squeeze the lemons and make lemonade. So my friends are all talented. They are all heroes in their own area and in their own field. I have greatest respect and love for them. Because of them, the trip made it very effective. The trip was made very effective. I met people from different zones, from the most difficult conflict areas, Palestine, Lebanon, and a lot of difficult areas in Africa, a lot of difficult areas in South America, Europe, in Asia itself. And then I was also one of them, and then I never felt different. For the first time I felt really comfortable, I would say. I was like with my own brothers and sisters and comrade. Yeah.
So this is very interesting, which I'm sure the listeners would also be equally interested as I am. Tongpang, you talked about the conflict, which I found it again very interesting because we are the post, we have not seen certain conflicts which our elders and seniors and our families have been exposed to. So as a young man, when you met young people from other parts of the world who came from a conflict zone experiences, how did you communicate?
Wow, that I had been thinking that my whole life, because my whole life I had an impression that I was a very good Indian. My whole life I wanted to be a commando in the army, because most of my generation, my bloodline, my family and clan, all were in the army, all were warriors. So they joined the army. They joined the British Army that time, British India. Now they were the commandos in Second and First World War. My grandparents were like that. So I had the thought and feeling for army thing. But again, things changed when I grew up, and then I realized that the people that we are fighting is not just outsiders; it's just our own people in Nagaland, And then, so it was very conflicting for me as a young boy, who like you said, post-war, or else like still under process of peace. So it was very conflicting, and because I don't know the full history, but there is a lot of pain in the history, and then like when you bring them all together, it's really emotionally draining. So what I did was like I took 2 flags when I went to Oman.
Okay.
I took an Indian flag and I took a Naga national flag. I made that very clear that I carried both the flags. The organizers asked us to carry on national flag, and then like I didn't know what to do. Sometimes we have the identity crisis, but I realized being present and being realistic. I am actually born in India because I am having an Indian passport, Indian identity document, because I'm born in that generation. But at the same time, our people are recognized. We also have a recognition, and we also have a fight. We also have a movement which is still alive. It's the Naga movement again. So I also have a lot of respect for my people at the same time. It doesn't mean that I respect anyone less. So I went there, and I think I represented myself as an Indian with documents, but as much as a Naga. So that's how I started my story. And then at the same time, I put on some points about like we have an indigenous struggle, which have been a long time, even before the new India began. So to some extent, I also learned from some of my Palestinian friends, like it was interesting, when the conversation started, I started thinking, and then I started to know that it's not about who is right and who is wrong. Or like, it's not about I am right and you are not right. It's not about you are wrong, they are wrong. It's not about the time. It's about what is the right thing to do. That came in my mind again, And then if we talk about like, is it right for some people to be not, is it wrong to be, is it right to persecute someone just because they want something? Is it right for these people to be kicked away? Is it right for people not having their own nation? Is it when you talk about just in the values section, everything is so clear, and then we know what is the right thing to do. So I think it's not about who is right and who is wrong. So when I present my presentation, I just present to the actual realistic point of view from my point. Yeah.
Wow. I think the effort here in today's conversation is that these are so sensitive, but it is equally important to have this public discourse, how each individual feels. And also the intention is to take it somewhere where we find a common ground, and I do hope that the listeners are able to have the discerning mindset, and heart to understand this conversation that we're trying to bring in to our listeners. As a community radio, it is so important to help our people debate or also have this thought-provoking situation where we question ourselves that whether our thoughts in the right places are, they're there or not. And with Tongpang's exposure, and I totally would agree with him, because as individuals and with the kind of situation that we Nagas are, and where we're trying to live together with our neighbors, it also becomes quite complicated, complex, and confusing sometimes. And I think it's through conversations, through dialogue, where we get to listen to one another, and we disagree to agree, we agree to disagree. And I think these are some of the art, way of communicating with one another, irrespective of whatever our opinions may be, which may be influenced through exposures and what we have seen through our own personal spaces. So Tongpang, having said that, what has the annual meet? What has been the objective? And you as a first timer, what did you experience, and what is your takeaway from there?
Well, there are a lot of things older generation speaks on, and then with respect, I would say like most of the time it's only about discussion and debate, and it's not much about actions. It's not much about how to guide the youth or how to give space for the women. As a guy, as a gentleman, as a man, I would say like it's very clear that the men don't want to. It's very hard. It's men don't want to share, or it's very hard to let go of power. But I think let go in our biblical stand also is very clear. We must let go of things. We must let go of power, because nothing here is belonging to us. It's all about God, and it's all about the divine which we have. It's a gift, so we must share it. And then I think letting go is one thing, and second thing is like what I learned from here is like youth are a key to peacemaking process. Youth are the most energetic age. Youth are the most effective age group. They can reach people. They can really connect with the other people, other young people. Like I connected in the youth camp, and then we can really work for a better thing, because we have a lot of creative ideas. We have a lot of creative ideas, I will tell you. We can mixture a lot of our creativeness and activities, and then even the technological stuff, remix it to create more peace. Like use social media, for instance, use programs, use music, use arts, there's a brand lot of things which we can work creatively on. But all these can only come when there is a sit-up with the old people, young people, women, folks. I'm not saying that we don't need the old. We need the old because we need to actually bridge the gap. Yeah.
So there's this narrative and an often statement of the youth are our future, right? That seems to be quite a cliche thing. And unfortunately, we also see where young people are also used for violent activities,
Absolutely.
and this has never been spoken about. And our society has always spoken about young people as an asset. But how, according to you, when you observe through your experiences and your grassroots intervention programs and interactions that you have had, why do you think we're not talking about these issues in our society? Even starting from home, Tongpang.
Yeah, very true. From home, if you say, you see only the economic perspective, and then it's a survival perspective. We are still in that old early man stage. Like we have to survive, we have to procreate, and then increase our this generation and all. Like that's one side aspect for the family thing. And the second thing, you mentioned resource. Yeah, youth are the resource, and youth are the future of our country, nation, or the planet, or for God. We say that words, but we are very selfish when we say youth are our resource. We really mean it. Youth are my resource. Yeah, they have to do my bidding. Yeah, I will guide the youth. Like I'll pay some donation or I will support them, but there must be something for me in it. Like I don't want to put anyone on the front line, but when I speak with different youth groups, especially the Students' Union in Nagaland, maybe in other parts of India, because I work with a lot of youth, most of their activities and agendas are more about like political. They mention their motto is about education and development, but it's more about political agendas. Second thing I would say is like it's more about fun and recreation, which is important, but it's only about fun and recreation from those those early starting days of youth. And I think youth must break the barrier, break the chains, and then start thinking creatively and freely. I would urge young leaders to really start being creative. It's not only about supporting the community. It's about also creating creative programs for our people.
I think that's wonderful because, as far as I'm aware, Tongpang, having you get exposed to interfaith spaces, which is also another issue where in our state, it's a very touchy, and there has been past issues where people were not comfortable, the religious leaders. That's why I was very curious on this religious and traditional leaders who were part of this annual meet. And how did they come together, and what is the purpose? I mean, that really intrigued me. And is it possible for us, especially in our state where we have so many denominations in our Christian faith, at the same time we have other faiths from different backgrounds who also are part of Nagaland? How do we bring in together through this experience when the rest of the world can do it? What is stopping us? And I want it only from your perspective, because everybody will have their own opinion and we must respect that. But importantly, with you, because we're talking about you've had exposure with international and also domestic and national level. And this shows that people are making effort in bringing people together, respecting each other's spaces and finding a common ground. And how can we take those experiences, and initiatives in bringing here in our home, and if there is hope in doing it, and how can we support that?
Before I go into my experience sharing, I'll ask you something, Gugu. If you might want to answer. I know it will be your personal thing. Like, what are the have you heard before that missionaries and that say our faith is less, we don't want to convert to another community and all? I think it's common thing. Do you agree? Like
I think it's to do, yes, I've heard, but at the same time, I also realize that it's not just with us, it is to do with other faith
Other
as
faith
well,
as well, yeah.
where we would like to respect,
yeah.
you know? Yeah.
The biggest fear with the religious leaders or here in Nagaland that I see or anywhere in the world is like the fear that their followers might dwindle or they might be astray. That's the biggest fear they have, and then it's logical, and I don't mind. That's their personal opinion, but I remember that being said to me by one reverend, and I have a lot of respect for him because he's the one who supported me in a lot of community programs, and he's supporting me till now. And then, but I remember the early talks we had like few years ago, and then he raised the question like, why do we need to work with different denominations, or why do we need to work with Muslims or Hindus or Buddhists? Why do we need to do that? Because here we are all Christians. And then I said, I think our people Nagaland are not going to stay only in Nagaland. Our people are going to get exposed, travel the world, and then we hear a lot of intolerance and a lot of conflict in different places, a lot of killings and a lot of wars and hate speeches. Why do you think they start? It's because of our ignorance about other community. We don't respect them, or they don't respect us, and there's no exposure, no exchange. Do you want that to happen to our children and our future? Or do you want to be just a close group? Okay, then the next question came like, okay, fine. But what about like if we lose our followers? And I said, well, excuse me. I said, like, look at me. I met a lot of Buddhists, thousands of Buddhists. I met Dalai Lama, Holiness Dalai Lama. I met a lot of great Catholic cardinals or bishops. I worked with a Catholic institution. I studied in a Catholic institution. I worked with Hindus. Went to the temple. I celebrated with the Hindus. I have a lot of Hindu friends, Buddhist friends, name it, what religion. I have a lot of friends. Do you think that has shaken my faith? I think that the question about faith is because of our insecurity, I would say. Insecurity because I think we are insecure because we are failing to do our job. We are failing to be a good Christian. And if we are a good Christian, I think there's nothing to fear. And then in Nagaland, I think what we need to do is really find spaces for exposure, really find spaces for dialogue, and then really find spaces for the dissent also. Dissent in a sense like people who really question the church. I think these things should be allowed. Questions and discussions should be allowed and must be allowed because these are healthy things. We cannot shun them away. We cannot quiet them away. We don't have all the answers. I think we can find the answers together.
Wow, I think I would like to start from this finding answers together because we all know, I'm sure the listeners would also agree or perhaps disagree, and that's fine, that when we don't have answers, we do not want to talk about it.
Absolutely.
And but the sad part of the reality is that if we don't know, we are also not willing to know.
Mm-hmm.
So the matter just becomes bigger and bigger, and that's where you just can't have a conversation, right? And the other challenge we also face is that there's this conflict even in terms of ideas.
Absolutely.
And again, it's fine. We accept that fact, the other side of the story also. But I think this is a beginning, Tongpang, where I would really like to leave it to the listeners. Since our effort and intention is to help people shake up their mind and be in disagreement, and that's fine. But somewhere down the line, we have to start talking about it and how we talk about it and being responsible and accountable for the things that we say and also for the things that we do. Because our society, if we see of our generation, we're actually stuck between the past and the present. where we are unable to move. We say we want peace. We say we want, we want development. But unfortunately, in the manner that we are going, it's pretty dark. Some say, trying to pacify by saying that, hey, it's just a phase. As much as I want to accept that, Tongpang, it's very disheartening because so many individuals, stakeholders, are so genuinely, sincerely committed with conviction, making an effort. And sometimes it's very heartbreaking to see our own people, our own community going down. And it's not just about leaving the country and going to another country and saying that I don't care anymore. It hurts more when we have a calling to stay back home and be with our people, no matter how hard and difficult it is. And I think as young people of the state and being responsible citizens, we must have difficult dialogues. And that is only the way to have a breakthrough. It is not just in terms of being a concerned citizen, but it is also in terms of our own personal growth. Because if we are to meet people on an international level where people have experienced more severe conflicts and violence in their lives, and today they're able to advocate and be part of the process of peace building, why not us? Why not us? And it's difficult, but unless we are part of that process, it is impossible to have peace and development in our place. And I hope through this discussion, Tongpang, our listeners are able to have more questions. And I think we would be happy to answer. If you have any questions, listeners, where you feel that you disagree or you agree or you would like to supplement through your experiences, we would love to hear from you. And this is a platform where we are here to build one another, to mend things, and also extend our friendship as people, as human beings, and for humanity. So, on a lighter note, Tongpang, you were saying that you wanted to crack a joke as a closure.
Yeah. Before I crack a joke, I just want to add one serious line.
Sure, please. On a serious note.
One serious line is like, when for me to realize that we need our fellow friends, and comrades from other communities. I have a lot of respect for a lot of my Indian friends because they have been there to support my back when it comes to humanitarian, when it comes to emotional, when it comes to support of our solidarity movement.
Yes.
Because they didn't know about it. These movements are not only made mostly about politics and then governments. It's not about the people. Sometimes people are left out, When the people know about it, they really have support, It's not about India only, all around the world. And then one thing about the Nagas, I always hear is the Naga, we are a indigenous tribal community. We are a new generation of a civilization. We are a small civilization. I would say, cut that. Pete, cut that. Because when I went to the African community, my friends, when I met the indigenous friends of mine all over the world, you know what? Their struggle is the same as our struggle. We had struggle, we are not only dealing with the new India or present India struggle. It's our history is long behind. It's far behind. It's as far as other civilizations were. So we must not look at ourselves in a low position. That's one thing I would urge my young people to do. And then I would urge my young people to really participate in any program they can. Really get the exposure out there. But again, do know your roots. So, can I start the light joke?
Oh, yes, please go ahead.
So, it's about, it's just yesterday evening, I was laying down, watching movies, resting after my travel. And then, I did an international travel conference and program. And after that, my mother asked me, hey, Tongpang, go and water the plants, It has been left for you. Like, it's been 3-4 days and then nobody's watering it. I said, Mom, what? What? I have to water them? Like, and then a little bit of ego was coming like, well, I've traveled international. I met the Sultanate and then gone to the ministry, and then I have to come back Nagaland just to water the plants. And then I just realized, like, well, where is that coming from to me? And then I said, like, no, I cannot be that Tongpang. I have to be humble, and then I have to be, really respectful. And I think I need to do my part in the home. That's me being realistic. And then I went up there, and and then watering the plant was really helpful. I would suggest every young person to do it, because even the old person can do it. Because during watering, I had good inner thoughts and reflections about the country where I visited, And then I wrote, Oman is where our hope for the world rests. And then I think Nagaland is also the place where our hope for the world rests, because there are wrong stereotypes about our people, and then there are wrong stereotypes about the Arabs and the Gulfs also. But honestly, I'm blessed, because I went to the Oman area, to their dry sand, the salty sea, and then dry rocks, you cannot grow anything out of it. But the Omanians were so hardworking and dedicated that they were planting flowers, they're, reviving wildlife, they're protecting the turtles, and then, the sands, they were using it as their, pride, that's their culture, and then they're safeguarding it. And I saw that in our people, we need to feel that with our mountains, the hills, the cold places, with the unique tribes we have, the movement that we have, the movement that our ancestors have. And then I think that's what really brought me joy when I was watering my plants. And then I think I will only give my commitment for all the people all over the world. I will give solidarity, and then I hope everybody's can find a way to remove their ignorance, because I think it's just ignorance that's creating a wider gap. I think let's all be mindful, and then let's all try to learn something new. Thank you.
Wow, Tongpang. I think Tongpang has said enough, my dear listeners. And it is here that I take this closure from his note that we are to be inspired, and how Tongpang got inspired in reflecting through his watering of his plant. And I think most of us, many a times when we are out, we are all out there with our energy, but when we come back home, we justify our action of doing a lot of work outside, and we just want to rest at home. Which is true. But how do we bring back these experiences that we've had in building our people, in building our nation, in building our friendship with not just our neighbors, but within ourselves, and compose ourselves and be more mindful and sensitive, as Tongpang has shared. So it is here on this note. We hope that each one of you have enjoyed and have also taking this time, being patient, and also loving in all respect. So signing off, and Tongpang, would you like to say bye?
Yeah, in Omanian Arabic, we say Jamila. It means beautiful. Oman Jamila and Nagaland Jamila.
Well, with that note, Jamila it is. So we're all beautiful people, and it is here on this note. I sign off on behalf of 90.8 Hills FM, the voice of change with Tongpang. This is your RJ Gugu Haralu signing off.
You're listening to 90.8 Hills FM Radio.
This is 90.8 Hills FM radio station, using our voice to rate your choice. Stay tuned.